Okay, so back to conclude Unit 4 with Section 8.9. 8.9, as I've kind of been alluding to, this is kind of the coup de grace of everything we've been looking at with regards to percents. We started by just kind of understanding them generally speaking, but more importantly, understanding how to convert percents to fractions and, really importantly, to decimals, and back from decimals to percents. And then in section 8.7, we looked at a very generic application of percent problems where you apply a percent to a number and you get a certain result. Okay. We are going to look at very specific instances of that kind of generic formula in section 8.9, namely commission, percent increase or percent decrease, and simple interest. Okay, they all have their own formulas. I usually put them on the exam. It doesn't really matter in your case because I have them on there. I've already made up the test, but wouldn't really matter for your case since you're just doing the test at home. But let me take you through some examples here, starting on page 495, and show you how to use these formulas to solve some of these questions or answer some of these questions. So section 8.9, what do we call this one? We'll just say applied problems with percents. Okay. As a first example, on page 495, let me do problem 8. All right, let's see what we're talking about here. It says Anthony is a leasing agent for S&R Business Equipment. Last month, he leased $110,000 worth of copiers and scanners to businesses. If he is paid a commission rate of 4% of the total amount leased, how much did he earn last month? So, what they're talking about here, or the particular equation they are focusing on, is commission. The relationship for commission. Oh boy, can I fit this on the board? I'll try. Okay. Commission is equal to the commission rate, excuse me, sorry, I had to abbreviate that, times sales. What does it mean to get paid by commission? What is commission? Commission itself, this word right here, this represents the amount of money made based on the sales, we'll say. So if you are a person that lives, fully or in part based on commission, what happens is you are usually involved in some kind of sales or leasing, which is, effectively the same thing in a way. It's just temporary sales. But what it means is you get a certain percentage of the business you basically bring in to the company. I know in many cases a lot of employees at Nebraska Furniture Mart are paid at least in part based on commission, and it's kind of why they have a bit of a fuss there. If you are working with a certain person or a certain sales associate there, and then they leave and you go work with another one there, they don't like that. I can tell you that from personal experience. But anyway, usually they get a certain percentage of the sales. Other people that tend to work on commission, very common field is real estate. If you are a licensed realtor and you're showing people homes, usually you'll get a certain small percent of the sale value of the home. usually because of the magnitude of the price, it tends to be kind of a smaller percentage. But anyway, commission itself is the amount of money the person makes based on the business they bring in. Okay, commission equals salary, basically. The commission rate, this is just the percent of sales per employee keeps, we'll just say. And again, depending on what kind of field you're in, that commission rate, that percentage could vary quite a bit. Like I said, people in real estate may only get 2 to 3% of sales. I'm sure people at Nebraska Furniture Mart maybe get a little bit more of the sales that they have, since they're not selling, $100,000 or maybe multi-million-dollar items like that. Okay, the sales are pretty obvious. Those are going to be given to you. Well, either they'll be given to you or they'll be asking you for them. Okay. But again, commission. This is kind of equivalent to salary, except the notion of a salary is that a person gets paid a very steady amount for always showing up. Commission, sometimes people can make a lot of money very quickly depending on the circumstances. Sometimes there may be a lot of dry spells if they're not getting a lot of business or sales. Okay. So with that explained, again, let's read the problem one more time. Anthony is an agent for S&R Business Equipment. Last month, he leased $110,000 worth of equipment to businesses. If he is paid a commission rate of 4% of the total amount that was leased, how much did he earn last month? Okay, so how much did he earn? What was the salary? What was the money he made? They're asking us for the commission that Anthony made. The commission rate was 1%, and that was given to us in this problem. It was 4%. And the sales, or the amount leased in this case, that was also given to us, it was $110,000. Okay. So Anthony's commission is equal to 4% times $110,000. Or keep in mind, to do operations with percents, we need to convert it to an actual number. So Anthony's commission is 0.04. Well, you can see this marker, okay, it's fading pretty fast, and one of my other markers dried up. 0.04 times $110,000. Okay, once you get down to this point of understanding what needs to be plugged in, and you can clearly see what operation needs to be done. If you want to use your calculator at this point, you can certainly do so. So 0.04 times 110,000. You should get what? 4,400, I think. Whoops, I missed off a zero there. Yeah, 4,400. Okay, so that was just in a month. That's a pretty good month's work. $4,400. So, commission, again, commission is the amount of money you make. It's the commission rate that is 1% of sales you keep. Okay. All right. So this is a person paid strictly on commission. Problem 10 deals with someone who is paid part commission and part salary, if you will. So let's do problem 10 on page 495. Let me double check something quickly. Okay. Yeah, blue marker's fading, but it looks like it should be visible in the video, hopefully. Problem 10. Phoebe works in the outlet mall at the Johnson Appliance store. She earns $900 per month salary plus 8% commission on her total sales. This month, she sold $12,400 worth of appliances. What was her total income for the month? Okay. So, whereas this person was paid strictly on commission, Phoebe gets paid $900 plus commission. Okay. So just in case they don't want the well to run too dry, you know, for her living expenses, they do give her a certain amount, and then however much she can bring in sales, great, she'll make that much more. Okay, so what was the commission she earned this month? Well, we are given the commission rate in the problem. They said it was 8%. And they also told us that this month she sold $12,400 worth of appliances. So, same format. They told us the commission rate. They told us her sales. That will give us her commission, but then we'll need to add that to her $900 salary to figure out how much money she actually made for the month. Okay, so again, only main difference between 10 and 8. Anthony was paid strictly on commission for the amount of business equipment he leased. Problem 10, Phoebe is paid a flat amount of $900 always. That's the minimum she'll make in a month. Plus, she gets paid commission for sales on top of that. So, the commission aspect of problem 10 is going to be 8% times her appliance sales, or 0.08, I mean, times 12,400. Okay. So again, another very straightforward commission problem. If I multiply 0.08 by 12,400, I get $992. Okay. So her total pay is not just going to be this 992. It's going to be the 992 plus the flat pay of 900 that she always receives. So it looks like she makes a total of $1,892 or $1,892 in this particular month. Okay. So again, generally speaking, commission refers to the amount of money you make. Okay. You were either involved in sales, leasing, or what have you, and you get a certain rate, a certain percent of the sales or amount leased. Okay. That is your commission. That's your pay. Sometimes people are paid fully or wholly on commission. Sometimes people get some pay and some commission. Okay, the pay will be some kind of flat rate. The commission is what will vary. Okay. What else do they throw at us in this section? So commission was one very specific application of amount equals percent times base. Okay, still the amount equals percent times base relationship, but in a very specific context, the context of commission. Excuse me. They also talk about percent increase and decrease in this section. And again, that relationship has the same flavor, same tenor, if you will. Okay. So the amount of increase is equal to the percent of increase times the original amount. This is basically what we kind of used in a way in problem, well, we really did use it in problem 38 in section 8.7, back on page 41, I think. We basically used this to calculate that amount of 20% increase, but we had to add it back to the original amount as well to get the full new amount. This relationship here, this just gives you the amount of increase. It doesn't give you the increased amount, if you will. It just gives you the amount of increase. Okay. The percent or amount decrease formula looks very similar. If you just replace increase with decrease, you have the formula for the amount of decrease. And again, what tends to kind of throw people is that that's all this formula calculates, is the amount of increase based on the original amount. Many times you'll need to add or subtract it to the original amount to get the final increased or final decreased amount. Okay. Let's see if this comes into play in problem 12. Doesn't look like it. Looks like this will be a little bit different. Problem 12 says a sound system is reduced $165 from the original price of $1,100. What is the percent decrease? Okay. So they gave us two amounts. So again, I'll say amount decrease equals percent decrease times original. Okay, just so I can fit this on one line. We obviously don't know the percent. That's what we're trying to figure out in problem 12. So what did they actually give me? Well, they very, blatantly told me the original price is $1,100. Okay, so again, I don't know the percent. They did tell me the original price was $1,100 and that this amounted to a decrease of $165 total. Okay, whatever percentage this was. Well, how do we figure this out? Well, as we saw in the last section, to solve for n, we'll divide by whatever we are multiplying it by. So in this case, it's like we know the amount, we know the base, we're trying to solve for the unknown percent. But again, the context is amount of decrease or percent decrease in this case. Just a very specific application of amount equals percent times base. Again, just throw this in on the calculator. I know 11 goes into 165 15 times, so dividing that by 100, I think we're going to get 0.15 out of this. But again, you don't need to try to reason this out in your head or do this on paper. Go ahead and plug it into your calculator. Indeed, we get 0.15. For that result, when we divide the decimal number 165 by the decimal number 1100, okay, I emphasize the word decimal there because this is a decimal result. But keep in mind, in problem 12, they're asking for this missing or unknown percent. How do I go from a decimal to a percent? I've just got to shift the decimal point 2 place values to the right. And I have my unknown percent here in this case, or my missing percent of decrease. Okay. So, in this case, this was a fairly straightforward problem, really, because I wasn't asked to calculate the final decreased amount of the item. They gave me the amount of decrease. If you wanted that here, you could calculate it directly. You just subtract 165 from 100. I think you get 935 out of it. No, here instead they're asking me to calculate the percent decrease based on the original price and the amount of decrease off the original price. Okay. So again, another amount equals percent times base problem, just wrapped up in a very specific application. So what else do you see along these lines? Let's check out problem 16. They say an appliance store is advertising that all appliances are on sale for a discount of 25% off the original list price. So the question is, what is the sale price of a refrigerator with a list price of $1,900? Okay. All right. So again, we're talking about percent decrease, but again, this is a case where they want us to figure out the final decreased price. They don't just want us to figure out the amount of decrease. We're going to need to use that in conjunction with the original price to get the final decreased price. Okay. Excuse me. So how is that going to look here? Well, again, we have this relationship. The amount of decrease is equal to the percent decrease times the original price. In problem 16, they gave us both the percent decrease and the original price. They told us the list price, which is often, that's kind of a lingo in certain kind of sales, meaning the original price. The original or list price is $1,900. And they told us a percent decrease is 25%. So the amount of decrease is equal to 25% times $1,900. Okay? So again, to do arithmetic with a percent, we need to convert it to a decimal first, which would be 0.25. And if I take 1/4 of $1,900, I guess it's going to be $475. Again, we'll use the calculator to make sure we are correct. 0.25 times 1,900 is 475. Okay. So again, to get to the point to use your calculator, you'll need to kind of read and digest the problem. Make sure you are plugging in your numbers into the right spot, right parts of the relationship. Again, they gave us the original or list price and the percent decrease. We can use that to figure out the amount of decrease off this list price that we're going to get. Okay, and that's $475. That's not the answer to the question, though. That just tells us how much they're going to reduce the price by. To actually answer the question, we need to take this and subtract it from the list price to get the result. Okay, and again, you can use your calculator if you want. Looks like we're going to get $1,425. This is the final decreased price on the fridge after applying that 25% discount to the list or original price of $1,900. Okay. So again, like I said, with amount increase, amount decrease, usually oftentimes they do, not always, but oftentimes they do want to know what the final new increased amount is or the final decreased amount is going to be. You'll need to use this to get the amount of increase or decrease first. And then if you're looking at amount of decrease, subtract it from the original amount. That will give you the final reduced amount. If you're looking at amount of increase, you'll actually add this to the original amount to get the final increased amount. Let me check time. Okay. I think I'll cut this off here. This will be part 1, if you will, of section 8.9. I will come back. We'll look at one more example of this. And then I'll look at the simple interest formula, kind of a very important formula in some regards. It just gets applied quite a bit in math from here up the ranks. So we'll be back and do that in part 2.